of our Siddureens was Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharim, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Malachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei El Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Malachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nile Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei El Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Malachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sefer Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei El Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Malachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'd like to invite Liz Rockman for lighting our Shabbos candle today. We're on page 25. Page 25.
You're going to have to write them.
I will.
Come, let us welcome Shabbat.
May its radiance illuminate our hearts.
Light is a symbol of the divine.
The eternal is my light and my salvation.
Light is a symbol of the divine within us.
The human spirit is the light of the eternal.
Light is a symbol of the divine law.
The human spirit is
Light is a symbol of Israel's mission.
the eternal have made you a covenant people, a light to the nations.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu, l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, O eternal our God, who makes our lives holy through divine mitzvot, and who has commanded us to kindle the Shabbat lamp. May the eternal bless us with Shabbat joy.
Amen.
May the eternal bless us with Shabbat peace.
Amen.
May the eternal bless us with Shabbat holiness.
Amen. Liz, once you've completed distributing the candles, if you'd like to sit up on the bima. Would you like to sit up on the bima? No? Okay. Page 27, we're going to continue with a Chai Doiti. Le Chai Doiti, li Krakala, Yadada, 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 B'nei Shabbat, Mekabela. Le Chai Doiti, li Krakala, Yadada, 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 B'nei Shabbat. Nekabela, Shamor bezachor betibor echad, Hishmi'anu echad nuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, Lishem u'tiferet v'litila, Lechai dodi likrakala, Yadadai, 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 B'nei Shabbat. Nekabela, Lechai dodi likrakala, Yadadai, 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 B'nei Shabbat. Nikabela, Libra Shabbat, Lechu v'nechan, Ki mekor abracha, Merosh mikadem nesuka, Sof ma'asa b'maksha teila, Lechai dodi likrakala, Yadadai, 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 B'nei Shabbat. Nikabela, Lechai dodi likrakala, Yadadai, 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 B'nei Shabbat. Nikabela, Iori, Kiva ore, Kumi Ori, Shir Daveri, Kavod Adonai, Alai Nigila, Lechai dodi likrakala, Yadadai, 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 B'nei Shabbat. Nikabela, Lechai dodi likrakala, Yadadai, 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 B'nei Shabbat. Nikabela, and we face the entrance or exit of our building as we welcome in the Shabbos bride. Boi v'shalom atzeret bala, Gam besimcha uvetzolach. Toch emune am sigula, boi kala, ale chaydo di likrakala, yenadai b'nei Shabbat, nekavela, ale chaydo di likrakala, yenadai b'nei Shabbat, nekavela. We face now the ark as we join together for the Hatzi Kaddish. Yitkada, Yitkada, Shemei Rabbah. Biamadi brakute biamlich malchute bechai yechon u'yoy mechon u'chayetech beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kari bi'amaru amen Yehesh mei rabba miborach le'olam olam le'almaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitbar ve'yitraman ve'yitnaseh Be it a dar, be it a la, be it a la, Shemini Kudusha Berechu, Leila Mikol Birchata Beshirata, Tushbechata Benechemata, Damira Mialma, Miameru, Amen. Page 30, we join together for the Baruch. Baruch et Adonai, Amivorach. Baruch Adonai, Hamivorach, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai, Hamivorach, Le'olam Va'ed. Page 31. We join together with the italicized text. Eternal God, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, now let your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding work. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ari Barabim. Blessed are you, O Eternal, who brings on the evening. Page 32. With eternal love, you have loved your people, the house of Israel. Torah and commandments, statutes and judgments you've taught us. Therefore, O Eternal our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will discuss your statutes and rejoice in the words of your Torah and your commandments forever. For they are our lives and they lengthen our days, and we will meditate upon them day and night. May you never remove your love from us forever and ever. Blessed are you, O Eternal, who loves God's people, Israel. Page 33, we join together for the Shema. It's live. Well, it's live. It shows it's live. You may be on the wrong channel. I'm not sure. Page 33, we join together for the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated for the Yahavta on page 34. V'ya'avta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol mi'otecha v'hayu hadibarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzalecha hayom al babecha v'shinatan levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shitecha b'beitecha u'v'letecha v'derech u'shachlecha u'kumecha Ukshartam liot al yadecha, v'hayu lo totafot beinenecha, uktatam al misusot beitecha, u'visharecha. Leman tizkeru v'asitem ekol mitzvotai, v'tem kiddushim alechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem mi'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet. Page 35, we join together for a responsive reading. Eternal truth is that you alone are God, and there is none else. May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exalt in your justice. Let them beat their swords into plowshares. Let them beat their spears into free blows. Let nation not lift up sword against nation, let them study war no more. You shall not hate another in your heart, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Let the stranger be in your midst, you as the native, for you were once strangers in the land of Egypt. From the house of bondage we went forth with freedom, so that we'll all be free to sing for joy. Page 36, we join together from Yechamocha. Mi chamocha bali Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar by kodesh. Nora teilo toisei fele. Machut acharu v'necha bokeyam lifnei Moshe. Ze Eli anu v'amru. Adonai iloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar ki farad Adonai et Yaakov v'golamet hazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Page 37, we join together for a responsive reading. Cause us, O eternal our God, to lie down in peace and to awaken us each morning to life renewed with strength. Spread over us the holy shelter of your peace. Together.
Our lives by your counsel, lead us to the path of righteousness. Shield about us, protecting us from evil and war, pestilence and sorrow.
Curb also within us the inclination to do evil, and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Guard our going out and our coming into life with peace from this time forth and forever. Page 38, we join together for Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. B'nei uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. Ki shesh yamim asa Adonai et ha-shemayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat v'yinafash Shabbat v'yinafash Shabbat v'yinafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat le'doretan berit olam. Page 39, we rise at this time. We're going to join together for the Amidah prayer, the standing prayer of Tefillah. Once again, we're on page 39 of our Siddur readings. Adonai sefer titach ufi yagi tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ba'Norah El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei Hakol, Bezocher Chastei Avot B'Imaot, Umevi Gila Livnei Bnechem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Ve'Hoshia, Morid Hata'al, Mekalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Omekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'Gilurot, Umito Melach, Melech Megit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah lechachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol Atah kadosh v'shim hakadosh Kadoshim b'chol yom Yahallelu chasela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el hakadosh. We daven silently until page 47 where we will join together for Oseh Shalom. Once you've completed davening, you may be seated. We join together now for Oseh Shalom on page 47. Oseh Shalom B'Rama, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael. V'emeru, Amen. I'd like to invite up at this time Liz Rothman. Yes, come on. Go for it.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight to this very special program. 15,000 children under the age of 15 passed through the Terezin concentration camp ghetto between the years 1942 to 1944. Only about 141 survived. George Rasko, our speaker tonight, was one of them. Terezin was created as a, quote, model ghetto and was the site of a Red Cross inspection visit in 1944. Many artists, musicians, scholars, and intellectuals were sent there, and culture flourished despite starvation, disease, constant fear of being sent to a death camp, and death itself. The poem you are about to hear is part of a collection of poems and artwork written by the children of Terezin. The poems and art were hidden and found many years later. The students at Etz Chaim learned all about Terezin and then did a butterfly project to honor George and all the other children's survivors. It is on display in front of the Bima. The poem that I'm about to recite for you is titled The Butterfly, and it's one of the poems in the book. It was written by Pavel Friedman. Pavel, unfortunately, did not survive. The butterfly symbolizes the lost beauty and freedom of the 15,000 by Pavel Friedman. The last, the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzling yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears would sing against a white stone, such a yellow is carried lightly way up high. It went away, I'm sure, because it wished to kiss the world goodbye. For 7 weeks, I've lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto. But I have found what I love here. The dandelions call to me, and the white chestnut branches in the court. Only I never saw another butterfly. That butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live here in the ghetto. I would now like to call on our special guest speaker today, George Rasko.
Good evening. Okay, first, I would like to thank Rabbi Poland and Liz Rotman and, can you hear me?
I'll just make it a little closer. You know, I'll do you a favor, and if you'd like to use the
I
headset,
think it's gonna work.
it'll work, yes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is how it works.
Okay, that's it?
Yep.
Okay, let's start all over again. So, I would like to thank Rabbi Poland, Liz Rotman, and the Henry Licklis Holocaust Memorial Committee Board for inviting me and for all of you for your attention. I would like to start a little background in history. Second World War started in September 1939. Pearl Harbor attack was in December 1941. The Battle of Moscow, when the Russian troops stopped the German invasion, was in 1942. The Navy Battle of Midway was in June 1942, which established that the American Navy was superior to the Japanese. The Battle of Stalingrad was in February 1943, when the Russian troops actually beat the Germans. And Germany occupied Hungary in 1944 March. D-Day was in June 1942. Italy surrendered in September 1944. MacArthur returned to the Philippines in October 1944. Battle of Bulge, which kind of the American troops established superiority over the Germans, finally was in December 1944, and the Second World War ended in May 1945. Then it was the atomic bomb in Nagasaki and Hiroshima in August 1945, and the Second World War ended in September 1945. Now, why I'm telling you all this? Because in March 1944, in Hungary, 800,000 Jews were alive here. Actually, Hungary was very much in working with the Germans from the beginning of the war, because the Germans allowed them to reclaim possession of territories which they lost after the First World War around Hungary. And therefore, you know, they felt that they were working for with the Germans. But by the end of 1943, when the Russian troops started coming closer to Hungary, they really felt that that war was lost. And at that point, they wanted to have a separate peace agreement with the Soviet Union. The Germans found that out. They occupied Hungary, and they replaced the government with a Hungarian Nazi government called the Cross Arrow group. And at that point, everything changed. I want to tell you a little bit about Hungary. Hungary never been too friendly to the Jewish people. They kind of tried to have Jews not to have high education. They limited the number of Jews who could have high education. They tried to limit the amount of land Jews could own in Hungary. It was limited. They did not allow too many Jewish people in government. But on the other hand, the Jews could practice their religion relatively freely, and also they could start businesses and all kind of activities, business activities. My family and I, we lived in a small town in Hungary called Szeged, which is, if you want to spell it, is Szeged. And I was born there in 1939, in August, a month before the war started. And if you walked in the main street in that city, you could see that most of the businesses were owned by Jewish people. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my family. My father and two brothers owned a furniture factory. They actually worked in the factory themselves, but they also, my father acted as a second salesman. He did all the sales calls, traveling all over in Hungary. My grandfather was an art dealer. He actually lost his first wife in the 1920s, and after that he became a traveling salesman in Hungary. He did art shows, set up picture art shows in all over Hungary, and my mother, when reached 13, she was traveling with him and helped him selling the pictures. One of these travels took him to Szeged, to the town, and met a lady who owned a private library, where, you know, they didn't have public library at the place, they had private library, and he recognized that that would be a good place to sell pictures, so he set up the front of it was a big room, the back was all with shelves for books, and in the front he had all the pictures, in different pictures, and the idea was that all the clientele, the doctors and lawyers and from town, that came in and seen the pictures and purchased some pictures, so it became a pretty good business. So that went on until 1944, when the German invasion. After that, everything changed. First of all, Jews no longer were allowed to own any businesses. So they had to turn over the business to non-Jewish Catholic people who worked for them in different capacities. My father and his two brothers, they actually had two workers in the factory. And it's going to be a kind of interesting story, because they joined that Arrow-Cross party, the Nazi party of Hungary. And when the time came to turn over the business, they turned over to them, and they said that when the war gonna be over, we're gonna come back and we're gonna take back the factory. And they said they're gonna take care of everything. Now, the interesting tidbit of information that in 1949, the communists decided to take over factories in Germany. And at that time, the two gentlemen who were in the Nazi party during the war, now they joined the Communist Party, which means that they were a logical choice to come, and they were the one who came over to take over the factory to the Communist Party in Hungary, except that they never returned the factory to my parents. My grandfather did a different way. The pawn shop in Hungary was run by the government. So he took his most expensive paintings and put it in the pawn shop with a pawn ticket, assuming that if he survives, he can come and reclaim the pictures. And then just closed up the store and went on with his way. And then they started setting up the camp in Szeged, which around the temple, they fenced in the whole area. It was a large apartment, and each Jewish families had to move in there. You didn't get a full apartment, you get a room or part of the room, and other people were moving in there. That's when my first kind of memory started. Because what happened was that the people, the older people, like older than, I don't exactly know how old you had to be, but I know definitely I was 4 at the time. I didn't have to wear a yellow star, but other people who actually were older, you had to have a yellow Star of David on your, up in your coat, and you had to be back in the camp, in the ghetto, before 5 o'clock. So I was 4, and I don't know if any of you kind of think what you did when you were 4 years old, but I decided to visit my grandfather who wasn't in the ghetto yet. So I marched to the town, which is like 2-3 miles from the ghetto, to their house, and they were very happy to see me. And they gave me lunch, and we were, whatever we were doing, and then I took off and went back. But I was after 5 o'clock when I arrived to the ghetto. And of course, my mother was out of her mind because I wasn't around. Now you also have to realize that my mother was 24 years old at the time, when she had to take care of me and had to take care of herself and everything else. Now my father and his 2 brothers, they had to go to military service. And the military service for Jewish men, you couldn't wear a uniform, you were not given any clothes, you had to buy your own clothes. You had to buy everything, and then you had to work for the military, whatever needed, like roads and whatever they were doing. And they were in there, all 3 of them, him and his 2 brothers. So that was my first. So anyway, I'm marching back toward the ghetto, and it's like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and my mother waiting at the gate and said, "Don't you know that you're supposed to be in there by 5 o'clock?" I said, "You supposed to be in there by 5 o'clock. I didn't have a star, I could be late." So she didn't like that. But anyway, that was my first memory. The second memory, it is that about a middle of, just before we started moving out of the ghetto, that ghetto, the local Catholic Church came to the ghetto and converted the whole ghetto to Christian, assuming that when they had the prosecutions in Spain, if you change your religion to Catholic, they did not prosecute you. But for the Germans, it didn't make any difference. They actually were killing Jews no matter what, and no matter what you were, if you were religious or not religious, or you were believer or not believer, even if you didn't want to be Jewish, they wanted to kill you. So the next thing is to move the whole ghetto into a brick factory outside of Szeged. It's like, because that's where the railroad connection was and that was like a secondary camp, and that's where we met the cattle cars to take us to Germany. And what I remember about the cattle cars is when I had earache, the moment I got into the car, and I had the earache all the time. Now, it was no doctor. I don't know how many people were in the car, but there were a lot. And my mother had a small candle and had a little bag of salt. And he warmed the candle on the salt on a candle and put it to my ear, hoping that it's gonna break up the pain. And it did. But we were in the cattle car several times, and every time I was in there, I had pain in my ears. And around the 3rd time, I came up with which my mother quoted, so I don't exactly, I remember saying it, but I don't know when I said it. I said, I wish Hitler would have earache like I have, and he would change his mind. So anyway, we first took off from Szeged, and we ended up in Strasshof. Now Strasshof is a small town, the north side of Austria. And it was another factory type of situation. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention to you. I never met any German soldiers anytime. All the work, the dirty work, bringing the people here, putting them into the cattle car and all that, that was done by the Hungarian state police. And so the Eichmann was in Hungary. The Eichmann arrived to Hungary with his staff, which is a couple of people, like 4 or 5, and worked with the Hungarian government, all the work, collecting people, putting them into the camp, putting them into the cattle cars, and bring them into the whatever camps they were going. They were all done by the local Hungarian government. After that, you know, we arrived in Stasshof, and we could not get into the camp because the camp was overfilled with people. So we had to sleep outside for a couple of weeks until they made room for us to get in. Then we got in, and there I never seen any Germans either. I seen Ukrainians with a stick, and they were chasing us. If we stepped somewhere that we're not supposed to be, they came after us and they were hitting us with the sticks. And that was the place where they made the determination, and basically that was the determination between life and death. Depends where you were sent. If you were sent to Auschwitz, obviously I wouldn't be here talking to you. But we considered ourselves lucky for all the time, because we were sent to a small knitting factory in Ameliendorf, which is outside of somewhere in Austria, in the middle of Austria, where it was a knitting factory. They set up a barrack for us to sleep in. The grown-ups were working for sun up to sundown. I don't exactly know the hours, but they were long. And what they gave us potatoes and cabbage. And the older ladies in the group, they were cooking. The food wasn't good, but it was food. And they gave us some bread. And then our parents, like my mom, he actually worked with the locals, and they were actually nice. The Austrians were nice. They were not abusing anybody, not that I know of. And they allowed us to go to their houses to clean the house, and they gave you more food for cleaning the house. So I was asking my mother, do you like to do that, or you have to do that? And she said, you know, I have to do that with the food. So anyway, we were in Ameliendorf until the end of 1944. And then again we were collected, and we had to walk to the train station, and then we took off again the cattle carting, and we ended up in Theresienstadt. No, Theresienstadt at the time when we got there, it wasn't that model camp anymore, because they had all the people who survived in all the other camps, like even Auschwitz and Buchenwald and all other places, they were all there. Now what they did there is that lots of the heavier camps, they had typhoid fever. So they separated us. We ended up in the second floor of, that was a military compound originally. The name, I looked it up. I didn't know that at the time. I looked it up. The name is Franz Josef, who was the emperor of Austro-Hungary. He named it after his wife, Maria Theresia. That's why he meant it Theresienstadt, which means Theresia is the name and Stadt is a city. So that was the name of the whole thing. So anyway, we were there, but when you look out of the, and again, I don't know what happened, but I was sick again. I was sick all the time. But so anyway, when you look out the window, you could see the large guns. The Russians were coming, and they got there around April of, I estimate March or April of 1945. And then they actually allowed the prisoners out of the ghetto to go to the town, and the local people, they left the houses, they put the keys in the window and they left because they know what's coming. And the prisoners collected everything what they could put their hand on. But what happened was the Russians made like a chain in front of the ghetto, the entrance, and they took away everything from the prisoners except food. The food you were allowed to take in, but the rest of them, whatever they took, they especially were very fond of watches. The first Russian word, I don't know if any of you Russian, but the first Russian word I learned was "davai chasy," which means "give me your watch." Because, and that made actually a lot of sense, because the watch is small, you can sell it, and the soldiers were going around holding the arm, watches all the way up and down. So, but we were still in the ghetto for a couple of weeks. Now at that point in time I was healthier, so I'm walking around. And actually you couldn't go in the basement because they had dust and ashes and discard the uniform and all that, so that we were chased out from there. But I seen the German soldiers, what they did, they made them wear the clothes. I don't know if you've seen the movies when the prisoners were going with the pajamas, with the yellow, blue and white pajamas. They made the soldiers wear those pajamas and they cut their hair in the middle like a stripe. So you know who they were, and they made them clean up the camp. They were working, we were watching them. So anyway, we were in Theresienstadt for maybe 2 weeks, I guess. And then we were allowed to leave the camp, and then we actually took up rooming in one of the buildings across the train station and had to wait until the train came to go take us back to Hungary. And again, then we had to share the location with a couple of other people, but it was, we had a room, my mother and I, so we didn't have to share the room with anybody. And then we took the train and we went back to Hungary and we met my father who survived, but he lost 2 of his brothers and 2 of his sisters. He had 2 brothers and 4 sisters, and out of the 3 brothers, he lost 2 of them, so he was the only survivor, and they lost 2 sisters. Now in the end, I think about 500,000 Hungarian Jews perished in the Holocaust. And the number of Jews in Hungary became very, very low. I mean, they still have Jews in Hungary, and it's a Jewish life in Hungary, but I'm just saying that that's basically what I know. So that's basically my story. I know I mentioned to Liz that I felt that it's my responsibility, if I don't lose this microphone, that we could go to a school or something when I meet with children. I think today young people get all kind of information, and especially when you're not Jewish, sometimes they say this thing never happened, the Jew just making it up. And I think I am one of the people who can tell them that it still happened, and hopefully they're gonna remember. I know that it's not as gruesome as if you hear stories from Auschwitz and all these other places, that we were not in that, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But the thing is that I feel that young people should know that things like this happened, and unfortunately, hopefully not going to happen again. And that's it. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. We have enough time for maybe 1 or 2 questions, and
Oh,
then
yeah,
afterwards,
okay. If you-
afterwards, we will also have time for questions as
Okay,
well.
then maybe I should get the microphone back.
Yes.
Yes.
How old were you when you fully understood the gravity of everything that had happened and everything you lived
I
through?
understood it right away.
Yeah, all of it.
Because, not all of it, okay, but the point is, this thing never, if you threw it, you never forget it. It's, so I kind of, whatever I'm telling you, I remember, I do remember, and I'm never gonna forget that until I remember anything. Yes,
How did you get to the United States and what did you do here?
okay, that's another good question. Okay, you have to basically study Hungarian history. It's a lot of things happened there. Number one, the communists took over and I was still young. And then my father, because he was a factory owner or capitalist, as they say it over there, I kind of felt that I never gonna make higher education because they're not. So I went to a technical high school, which is a middle school. I don't think they still have it in the United States, but over there, you basically you go 6 days. And out of the 6, one day you have to, like a factory, you learn how to file, how to run machinery, how to tune a car. Those days we tuned it with a screwdriver. So, but then, my father, when I was bored, he changed the birth certificate from factory owner to manager. And the manager, they have 3 criteria of people: to have the laborer, to have the peasants, and to have the intellectual. As became an intellectual, so I could go apply for college, and I was accepted. So I went to college in Hungary. I became a mechanical engineer, and then I worked. And another story is that when we grew up in Hungary, we said we're building socialism, and the Soviet Union is the fulfilled dream of socialism. That's how we grew up. So anyway, in 1963, after I graduated from school, I was working for a construction company, and they had a meeting in Russia. And I said I'm gonna go there to take a look. I wanted to see the machinery, so if you change the train, because what's happening is the train distance railing is smaller in Europe, and in Russia they make it wider to go longer. So anyway, you had to change on the border, and we went into a store and we didn't find anything. The store was empty. So, and then that went through all the time, people were buying, and Hungary was a communist country, okay, but still people stopped you on the street and buy new clothes. So, I said to myself, if that's the fulfilled dream of socialism, then it's really not for me. And then, of course, we had the Hungarian Revolution, and after the revolution, they were allowing people to travel, and I went to Austria, and I never went back. I was in Austria for a couple of years, and then I applied for getting to, and you had to go through a quite excessive check, for if you wanted to come to United States, you had to tell them your life story from the beginning and what you did and what you didn't do. And of course, they didn't like if you would have been communist, which I wasn't. So they let me in the United States, and I came in. And of course, I was a graduate engineer, but my English wasn't that good, so I started as a draftsman. And then I worked myself through the whole thing, and finally I became like a project manager, and that's it.
You settled in New Jersey?
Excuse me?
You settled in New Jersey?
Yes, yes. My wife wasn't too happy about that. We started in Parsippany. And then we moved to Clifton, and then we bought a house in Fairlawn, and then we lived there 35 years, and then we sold the house and moved to Monroe Township, and we live in Concordia right now.
There'll be more time for questions when we have the O&M. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Oh. Thank you.
please come and stand over here, and you know your numbers. When you go to light the candle, you'll know it's a battery operated, you just have to twist the bottom. Okay, my students, Jared. No, is it?
Is this on? Can you hear us? The mic? Alright.
Tonight we mourn 6 million Jews who were brutally killed in the Holocaust. We light candles to remember those who were killed and to honor those who survived.
Candle lighting is more than remembrance. It is an act of defiance against the erasure of memory. It reminds us of the dangers of bigotry and the importance of pursuing human dignity.
Our first candle is in the memory of all those that perished in the gas chambers of the concentration camps.
Our second candle is lit for all those that died in the Warsaw Ghetto Revolt, as well as those partitions who combated the Nazi regime. They were brave fighters who fought for freedom and dignity.
Our third candle is lit for all those that were executed by being shot and thrown into ditches to die, and for those who were burned to death or drowned.
Our fourth candle is lit for the 1 million children who perished in the Holocaust.
Our fifth candle is lit for all those of different faiths who died to save the Jewish people.
Our sixth candle is lit for all the victims of Nazi torture that survived despite the horrible, inhumane conditions.
Our seventh candle is lit for us, the people of this community who pledge to keep the memory of those martyred souls alive. We promise to teach the lessons learned from the Holocaust, to fight bigotry and hatred, and to work for the day when tolerance and understanding is the inheritance of all people.
I lost the rabbi.
See your face.
No, you can lose me, I'm here. We're now going to offer, and thank you for everyone who participated, was part of this very important addition to our service for this evening. It's been really nice to have everyone's contributions for this, so thank you. So, we're going to now turn to the Misha Barak prayer. Misha Barak prayer may be found in our Sidurims, and in just a moment I'm going to be reciting names from Misha Barak list. After the names have been read aloud, if you would like to add any names, we may do so at that time. Today's Misha Barak list includes the following names: Prima Riccio, Asher Ephraim, Kami Zabadik, Evelyn Levy, Courtney Zabadik, Austin Volk, Colson Jones, Michael Glaw, Ira Raw, Stephanie Belzer, Alan Frederick, Angela Heller, Joanne Friedman, Rich Bernaldo, Yvette Samos, Harry Satin, Alan Tannenbaum, Allison Goldblum, Jennifer Poland, John Bigriedo, Mir Dov Ben Yisrael, Bren Chana, Nachman Ben Zev Wolf Malka, Shimon Ben Abraham, Jason Koff, Denise Megiddo. Are there any additional names? Magido. Are there additional names anyone would like to have added for today? Yes.
Dolly and Roger Bloomfield,
Dolly and Roger Bloomfield,
the Hockenberry family,
the Hockenberry family,
Frankie Barr.
and Frankie Barr. Yes.
Gabriel Levesque,
Gabriel Levesque,
Mike Costello,
Mike Costello,
John Riggs.
John Riggs. Alan Epper. Okay, yes. Rachel Chava. Alright, we're going to join together for the Mishpera prayer this time. Mishpera avotenu mekor abrecha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishpera imotenu mekor habrecha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We rise now for the Elena found on page 49. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol lateit gedula liatzer reshit shalo hatzanan kiyeh aratzot velo samanim kimishpechot ha'adama shalo sam kalkinu kachem v'gor aleinu kichol hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachalim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu She'onetei shamayim ve'yosir haaretz u'moshem yikaro b'shamayim ima'al u'shchinatu zo b'govhei meroimim hu Eloheinu Einon and Elokeinu efezulato kakatu v'torato v'yadata hayom v'hashivota el adavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim ima'al v'al ha'aretz mitachat einod. Page 50. We therefore hope in you, O eternal our God, soon to behold the splendor of your might. Then will false gods vanish from the earth, and the idols will be utterly cut off to heal the world to the sovereignty of the Almighty. Then will all acclaim you as their God, and forsaking evil turn to you alone. Let all who dwell on earth acknowledge that unto you every knee must bend, and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you, O eternal our God, let them humble themselves to your glorious name, let them give honor. Let all accept the yoke of your dominion, may we rule over them soon and forever. For the dominion is yours, and you rule in glory, as it is written, the eternal will reign forever and ever. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz vayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Remain standing now for the mourner's Kaddish found on page 52. In just a moment, I'll be reciting names from our Yortzeit list, as well as members of our community who have recently passed. After the names have been read aloud, if you are observing a Yortzeit or in the period of Shoshim of the Lovim, please share with us their name, so that as one community may pray for the elevation of their neshama to Shemayim above. Today's Yortzeit list includes the following names: Eugene Curlin, Henry Appleman, Francis Offenberg, Celia Sheff, Manuel Steinhoff, Simon Rychek, Ruben Stumacher, Anna Jacobs, Stephen Poland, Elliot Drobin, Eli Kaufman, Max Poland, Evelyn North, Sam Rothman, Isaac Rychek, Sam Poland, Nina Kramer, Rhoda Levy, Louis Bolstein, Deborah Levy, Louis Peck, Sidney Richmond, Daniel Peller, Charlotte Aronson, Jeffrey Stephen Ziegelheim, Francis Stopek, Steve Cutler, Regina Gallowitz. Recently passed from our community are the following names: Marissa Kosky, Evelyn North, Betty Martin, Lenny Popper, Fred Mushkel, Jeffrey Milstein, Phil Barfinkel, Evelyn Sheff, Shoshana Ilana Bat-Devora, Eli Oster, Roy Smith, Faith Small, Elaine Gordon, Ruth Topol, Alan Netterman, Regina Pasternak, Ruth Doss, John Hockenberry III, Beth Lizarovsky, Frida Mizrahi, Joanna Friedman, Ricky Tripp, Jeff Otis, Esther Captain, Alan Steinberg. Are there any additional names anyone would like to add for our list of today?
April Dolch,
April Dolch. Yes.
Bonnie Haber, and
Bonnie Haber,
Judy Wacht.
Judy Watt,
Wacht.
Wacht. Yes.
Linda Adams.
Linda Adams.
Mayor Richard Pucci,
Mayor Richard Pucci.
Sal Laurie,
Saul Laurie.
Paul Beller,
Paul Beller.
Mark Goldberg.
Mark Goldberg. Okay. Yes.
Perry Treshak.
Perry
Treshak.
Treshak. Okay. All right, if it is your custom, please remain standing for the mourner's Kaddish found on page 52. Yitkadal v'yitkada shemei rabba, b'alma dira kirutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayachon v'yonechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'galal gizman kariv v'imru amen, yehei shmei rabba mivarach l'olam alamei almaya, yizbarach v'yishtabach v'yifka'ar v'yizraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei v'kudashah brechu, Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabamit shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imrama v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. We now have an opportunity for our announcements. John, it's you. Or Laura, actually, it's okay. I didn't realize that. Maybe any other board members here today? I think it's just John and Laura. So. You're sure you don't want? All right.
Thank you to our guest speaker, George Rasko, for sharing his story. Talking with the rabbi.
Louder.
Thank you to our guest speaker, George Rasko, for sharing his story. Talking with the Rabbi resumes next Wednesday, April 15th at 11 a.m. Torah study resumes next Thursday, April 16th at 11 a.m. Shabbat services tomorrow morning at 10:45. Sunday, April 19th at 2 p.m. The Monroe Senior Center is Yom Shoah program, Life After the Holocaust. Registration is now open for our Yom that what he said. Celebration on Friday, April 24th. We have strumming for Shabbat, and you can register to join the Israeli Independence Day delicious farfel dinner. Register by Monday, April 20th. Sunday, June 28th is our next blood drive. Volunteers are needed. Let Lisa know in the office if you can help. To donate blood, sign up with redcross.org. Sunday, October 11th is our third annual car show. Volunteers are needed now to begin promoting the event. See the volunteer flyer in the lobby to learn more. If you would like to showcase the car or know somebody who would, registration is now open. Flyers in the lobby. For more information about any of these events, come to speak to board members after services or call the office. And as always, check your weekly emails for a complete schedule.
Thank you. Yeah, please do, if you can, join us for the Yom HaAtzmaut celebration. Last year was the first year that we did it, and then this year we're going to be doing it for our second year around. We're going to have falafel dinner. It's going to be really nice. We had a guest speaker last year, and we're looking forward to it, so please do come if you can. All right, we're going to turn to Adon Olam on page 53 of our Siddur readings. Adon Olam Asher Malach V'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa V'Hefzo Kol Azay Melech Shemo Nivra V'Yachad Rei Kiblo Takol Levado Yimloch Nora Vehu Haya Vehu Hoveh Vehu Yiyeh V'Tzifara Vehu Echad V'Ein Sheni Lehamshilo Lehachbira V'Li Reshit V'Li Tachlit V'Lo Ha'oz V'Hamizra Vehu Eli V'Chai Goali V'Tzor V'Li V'Yetzara Vehu Nisi Umanosli Menat Kosi Beyom Ekra V'Yado Avki Ruchi V'Yeti Shan V'Ya'ira V'Im Ruchi Geviyati Adonai Li V'Lo Ira. Good Shabbos everyone, Shabbat Shalom. We're going to join now for the chet at the back of our sanctuary for our kiddush as well as for the motzi. Looking forward to it once again. Shabbat shalom.
Oh my God.